And when I started using drugs, it was at the time that the hippie culture was developing. I mean, I used every drug that was taken during those years, but my real addiction was to meth itself. And that particular drug almost took my life. Weighed 134 pounds. I looked like death walking. And so I came into the program in 1968, September of 1968. And then I came to Christ, filled with the Spirit. And then I really felt in my own heart, had I not given my heart to Christ, I wouldn't have lived another 6 months. I was dying. And when that 4-month stipulation was lifted and I was free to go, I didn't want to go because I had fallen into the hands of a living God. And I knew that I leave Teen Challenge now, I'm going to use again. If I use again, I might die, and I don't want to die with my blood on my hands. And so I stayed, and in time, my spiritual life caught fire. And I actually came to the leadership of Teen Challenge in those years and said, "You've got to let me work for Jesus." They took me in. Secondly, they trained me for ministry. Thirdly, they gave me an opportunity to go into ministry. And so if you look at the very foundation and root of my spiritual life and what it is that I've done in ministry over the years, it began with Teen Challenge. And I look back on that time and to a large degree, those were the years that made me the man that I continue to be today. And I really felt called, to ministers, to influence ministers, to raise up ministries. I was speaking at a pastor's conference in Perth, Australia, and one of the visiting pastors there was from Sri Lanka. And he came to me at the end of, my ministry time, and he looked at me and he said, "Would you be my father?" And he was living in isolation, and he needed someone to look at him, to affirm him as a father would his children. And I really felt like, a part of my life's ministry would be spent in affirming these men and women, looking at them and saying, "Listen, what you're doing in the kingdom is absolutely necessary. As long as there's breath in my body, I'm going to continue standing in the pulpit and doing what God has called me to do on the streets and in the nations of the earth." That's who I am.